So it is about 5:40 a.m. here on Monday, August 10th of 2020. I just left on foot from the Stevens Gulch Road parking area just off I-70. And I'm now headed up the very initial stages of the Stevens Gulch Road, otherwise known as Forest Road 189. I'm on my way up to climb Grays and Torreys Peaks today. It's going to be about a 3-mile stretch of this road before you reach the actual signed Grays Peak trailhead, but I'm choosing to walk up this road rather than try to drive up it. See, it's still fairly dark outside, getting lighter though. Welcome to my video of climbing Torreys and Grays Peaks by way of the Kelso Ridge route. These are the highest peaks in the Front Range, and this view shows them from the southeast from the summit of Mount Bierstadt. The peaks were originally called Grays and Torreys back in 1861 after two prominent botanists of the day, Asa Gray and John Torrey, who were known, among other things, for their extensive studies and publications on the plant life of North America. The mountains were dubbed this by a colleague of Gray and Torrey named Charles Perry, who climbed the peaks around that time. This picture shows the peaks from the northeast coming up the Grays Peak Trail. Now these mountains, like many others in the state, were once the scene of much mining activity, and for a number of years were also called after some of these early prominent miners, among them Richard Irwin, who also promoted tourism in the area and established an equine trail up Grays. Their names were more firmly established in 1872 following visits by all three botanists, during which Gray actually climbed Grays Peak. Today, the two peaks are certainly no less a tourist and hiking attraction than they had become during the 1870s and 1880s. The standard and highly trafficked route for climbing both peaks is mostly Class 1 with, say, some Class 1 Plus near the top. Its endurance stats are about 8 to 9 miles round trip if you start from the Grays Peak trailhead, and about 14 miles if you elect to park at the start of the Stevens Gulch Road just off I-70. The road is currently passable for higher clearance vehicles. The total elevation gains are 3,600 and about 5,000 feet respectively. Above about 13,300 feet, you can reach both summits by using some combination of the paths shown here. So that's the standard route, which I originally hiked back in 2002. But in this video I'm presenting a variation on this, which features an ascent of the northeast ridge of Torreys Peak, otherwise known as Kelso Ridge. The endurance stats for going this way are basically the same, but it does involve some Class 3 climbing, so approach it with preparation and knowledge. Anyway, enjoy the footage. So I'm still heading up the Stevens Gulch Road here. I'm now at about 10,500, 10,600. The parking area back there is about 9,800 feet. The initial stretch of road goes towards the south, and then pretty soon up here it'll turn more toward the southeast before I arrive at the Grays Peak signed trailhead. Actually, this road is pretty drivable up to this point. I could have made it in the car, but oh well. Let's see. Up there is Kelso Mountain, I believe, which is just over 13,000 feet high. And then over here we have one of our destinations for the day, Torreys Peak. And I'm going to try to go up the Kelso Ridge route to Torreys Peak, and then if I feel up to it after that and weather permitting, I'll continue on to Grays. And up here now, this road has gotten quite a bit rougher, and up to this point it has been a frenzy of car activity, I have to say. Yeah, finally gotten here to the actual Grays Peak trailhead at about 11,200 feet. Across this initial bridge here. So I'm going to go along the Grays Peak Trail for a little while, probably about another 1,000 feet at an elevation gain, and then the trail for the Kelso Ridge route will branch off to the right eventually. I'm coming up now to 11.4, 11.5 or so. And there's Torreys Peak coming into view on the right and Grays on the left. So the Grays Peak Trail goes in a southwest direction overall. But at this point, I'm up here at about 11.6, 11.7 or so, and you go through a few of these westward directed switchbacks. And resuming southwest after those westward directed switchbacks, you can see things have flattened out on this stretch. Looks like they will be for a while too. And still heading southwest along this relatively flat stretch. See the sun starting to peek up over this ridge to the east. I'm probably at about roughly 12,000 feet now, and the path has picked up into a little more of an incline again. You pass through this rocky area here. After reaching about 12,300 feet and close to a couple miles worth of the Grays Peak Trail, I've now turned right onto this smaller path, which is going to lead up to the Kelso Ridge, otherwise known as northeast ridge of Torreys Peak. So I'm headed up this stretch of the path that's going to take me up to the saddle between Kelso Mountain and Torreys Peak. Coming up to the saddle, about 12,400 feet now. And initially, you turn to the left. This hill here. So I'm coming up to a few of these rock towers here on this Kelso Ridge. And it's my understanding you pass by these on the right of them. A little bit of loose rock here. After going down a stretch, start heading back up again. Hi. And now I'm back around on the left side after those initial towers. Okay. This looks interesting. And we know what interesting really means. Okay. And it looks like you drop back down a little bit onto the right again. It's kind of crisscrossing back and forth. And back onto the left again. Go to the right of this. Coming up on a kind of a steep part here. Still on some kind of loose sand and rock here. You know, so far the path on this is actually fairly discernible. Okay. So that wall of white rock there, the next challenge. As I come up to that. So, you see what just came up there. Yeah, I'm gonna head down a little more to the right. Looks like the path's more over here. So it looks like I'm now heading up that steep path towards that point up there. Oh boy. Ugh. And look down there, some of those steep parts. As I continue up this. Most annoying part about this stretch is, of course, this damn loose gravel. Yeah. Oh boy. Just keeps going. I'm still trying to make my way up towards that rock up there. It looks to be a number of possible paths to follow. So I think I'm going to follow this one in the middle over here, or at least try to. See, I'm thinking that I should have been on the other side of this for most of this time. So you can see the path, the main path appears to go back around to the right of that tower, not on the other side where I came from. So I think I'm back on the best track now. This is pretty steep. You can see up to the summit there. There are a couple more good challenges ahead before then. And there's a look back down at what I've come up so far along this ridge. So I'm climbing along the crest here momentarily. So I'm still going up this comparatively easier stretch along the ridge crest. I'm probably up here at about close to 13,900 feet at this point. I'm down onto the left side of it now. Like a steep section here. Now I believe right up here I'm supposed to go to the right steeply. Start heading up. I'm at probably about 14,000 feet right now. So another few hundred feet to go. Vertically anyway. Okay, I think I've reached, so I've gotten out of that steep rock section. So, a little over 14,000 feet now. I'm going to come up here, and just before that white outcropping of rock you see right there is the final challenge of this ridge. And I won't say what it is. You'll see once I get up there. And here it is. Little knife edge. Looks like you got to go about 30-40 feet along this, and then get to the other side. This rock is pretty solid though. Down one side, down the other side. And then once you get to this other side, you're supposed to drop down here to the right and skirt along the right side of these white rocks here. It's a little scary right here, but we can see the path here to the left. Okay, now you're looking at the remaining route to the top there. So now that I've gotten to the top of Torreys, I'm going to go up to Grays now. See the path?
Está bien?
Yeah, there shortly. I'm now headed down off of the summit of Torreys, and it's some loose gravel on the descent here, but not too steep, not too bad really. So I'm about to reach the low point of the saddle here. Back up again. So this connecting trail from Torreys to Grays is pretty darn rocky, but very well cairned, as you can see. Biggest limiting factor right now is my energy, let's say. Now I am leaving the summit of Grays Peak and beginning the descent down the main Grays Peak trail. Just glad the elevation gain is done for the day. Well, I'm kind of liking this more gradually switchbacking trail on the descent here, this main Grays Peak trail. It's more gradual. It ended up taking me about 8 hours to hike up the Stevens Gulch Road, along the lower stretch of the Grays Peak Trail, climb over the Kelso Ridge, traverse from Torreys Peak to Grays Peak, descend Grays via the entire length of the Grays Peak Trail, and then finally walk back down the road again. So it was a fairly long day on these popular and picturesque peaks, but also an enjoyable and challenging one. Here are some final images from that day, and I'll see you on the next mountain.